You don't like me, Bond. You don't like my methods. You think I'm an accountant.
The thought had occurred to me.
Good. Because I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur.
This video is sponsored by Spectre, finally a megacorporation ran by people with functioning brain cells. Hey guys, y'all heard of James Bond? He's the iconic 007 super spy that has been gracing the silver screen for decades with his charm, level-headedness, and misogyny? Yeah, despite his charisma, there is a good chunk of people that hate his guts.
You're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur.
But is he really though? Well, after having watched all of the films, I'm here to put that conclusion to rest. No, James Bond is not a misogynistic dinosaur. Y'all can piss off with your political woke-ass libtard. Well, there is that one scene in Thunderball where Bond tricks that nurse into thinking that a bad guy's assassination attempt was her fault, and she'll have to sleep with him in order to keep her job. Obviously, not every single thing about a film franchise beginning in the 1960s is going to age well. Some of the effects are shit, the pacing in the older films are slower than they need to be, and there is that one time in You Only Live Twice where Bond dresses up like a monkey in order to blend in with the Japanese. Hey, did you know that movie was written by Roald Dahl? But we ain't talking about Roald Dahl or racism. We're talking about misogyny and women. Is James Bond a sex-crazed predator? No. He does wait for women's consent, like in the movie based on that one Beatles song, where Bond allows the woman to decide whether they should sleep together based on her card readings. Oh, that's a no-no. Yeah, sad to say, James Bond did do dated horrible things to women a few times, no denying it, and even when he doesn't, the fact that he goes out with a different woman, or Bond girl, in every movie, can have unfortunate implications. However, I do think some scenes in Bond's filmography aren't as bad as the public makes it out to be. I'm willing to defend this scene. For two reasons. See, Galore was a bad guy at that moment, and Bond doing this just happened to make her have a change of heart. Second of all, James Bond needed a way to prevent Goldfinger, his boss, from poisoning hundreds of unknowing guards to destroy a bank, and the film made it very clear that Bond was running out of options. His plan to use his seductive charm to convince to become a good guy and replace the poison with something harmless was pretty much his last resort. Galore was a bad guy, it was James Bond's last resort. Now, I like to specify that neither of these reasons would be excusable on their own. Good guys intentionally making out with bad guys? That's just fucking weird. But, well, let's just say if Bond didn't do this, a lot of innocent people would have died. But yeah, scenes like this are hardcore evidence that the Bond films portray women as objects. Or do they?
Bond women over the 4 decades have been criticized by feminist movements, especially in the 70s. What do you feel about it?
I think they're bad sports.
According to the documentary Bond Girls Are Forever, a documentary made by the actress of one of them, Bond girls are meant to be goddesses that Bond has to prove his worth towards.
Bond women are larger than life. They're not meant to represent the real woman. They're meant to represent almost a dreamlike quality. It's a fantasy quality.
Basically, the purpose of a Bond girl is to show just how good at subduction the man himself is, not be mere sex objects.
How can anybody take that seriously and complain about it?
Bond Girls Are Forever was made by the same studio behind the actual 007 films. Of course it's going to paint Bond's misogyny in a pretty picture.
Actually, the documentary is pretty nuanced.
One of the most surprising discoveries we made that day was how physically aggressive Bond was.
I mean, of course, when you think about it, she's not really inviting him to have sex. No!
However, some James Bond films have decided to embrace Bond's misogynistic nature to portray him as a bit of an anti-hero, particularly the Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig films. Admittedly, I kinda wish it wasn't like that, because according to... I don't remember. The original purpose of James Bond was to show the audience the portrayal of the perfect gentleman. And indeed, in pretty much every film, even the shit ones, James Bond does have the traits of a perfect gentleman. He's fearless, resourceful, ruthless when necessary, and most importantly, charismatic.
I think they were on their way to a funeral.
All traits that should be praised and looked up to. God knows there's not enough charisma in the world nowadays. Stop! And that's what I like about the James Bond films. They strive to portray the perfect gentleman. They don't succeed all the time.
The deck was likely stacked in my favor. always thought that was a pretty rotten thing of James Bond to do. You know. That was not nice of an Englishman to do. No, the whole deck full of lovers. Not right.
But they strive to. And frankly, I find there to be plenty of good things about this perfect gentleman that everybody should admire. Yes, we should acknowledge some of the dated bad things he's done, but I find it foolish to demonize James Bond as simply a misogynistic dinosaur when he's not even a bird.
All those feathers I still can't fly.
Besides, I say he hasn't done anything too bad to women since the Timothy Dalton era. Well, there is that one moment in Skyfall where
You have this wonderful sense of humor about it. You didn't feel that it was a curse, like some actresses might have felt that it was a curse doing a Bond movie.
Then they shouldn't have accepted the role.